Greetings guys, shalom shalom, dumelang sanbanani jambo and lo'o. This is your bro Mahebahua Azania. Today's video will simply be looking into the subject, the idea of the great biblical deception. And again, this is simply an intro video to the greater series of videos that we'll be sharing around the Bible. And I think, again, self-explanatory. We are simply asking the question, have we been lied to about the Bible, about what it says, what it does not say, what its message is, etc. Tune in and let's get right into the video. Catch you on the flip side. Welcoming you to Edenic Truth Institute. We've journeyed on this new trajectory or this new series titled The Great Biblical Deception, Setting the Record Straight. I believe that the name is actually quite self-explanatory. The name suggests that somehow, somewhere in the past, that there were certain lies, certain deceptions and falsehoods that we were told, or that the majority, or at least a large, a considerable number of people were told concerning the Bible, what it is, what it says, its message, what it is not, what it stands for, etc. And that is what this series is really about. It is about delving into the biblical subject, or the subject of the Bible, and really asking those lesser asked questions about its Africanness. For example, we know that there are those who have said that the Bible is merely a white man's book. It is a book of myths, that it is simply violent, it is lies, it has nothing to do with black people, Africans, it is a colonial text, and so many other claims that have been made as it relates to the Bible. We'll go into some of those subjects. Again, this suggests, as I said, that there have been lies that we have been told. What do I mean? Consider that at the moment we are in what is known as the information age. And so many of us are coming across or into contact with certain information that some of us were not privy to previously. And there are certain things that we are learning as it relates to our lives, our lifestyles, our way of life, our governments, our education system, our upbringing, movie industry, music industry, etc. That makes us realize that we have been lied to in various ways. Now, quite interestingly, if we go into the book of Revelation 12 and 9, we come across a verse that says that and Satan had deceived the whole world. What does deception mean? Loosely, deception refers to making someone believe that a lie is true. Now, the problem with deception is that it is somewhat of a step further than a lie, because a lie is simply to mislead. However, deception is to make one think and believe that the lie is the truth, that the lie is the truth. Again, this is what the book of Revelation says. And how does that relate to our time, to what is occurring right now? As I've already stated, that many of us are coming across so much information online. And we come to realize that much of what we had thought, what we had believed to be true, seems to be lies. This somehow corroborates the book of Revelation, as it states that the whole world was deceived. Consider, for example, that many of us thought that 3 meals a day plus, and that was good for our health, and only to find out that actually eating less food, but healthy food, eating less times a day, what is called intermittent fasting, for example, that does wonders for your body, for your health, for your well-being. In other words, we shouldn't be eating 3 times a day as we are told, but that if we eat wholesome food, good food, and we eat less times a day and practice what is called intermittent fasting, that we can heal our body and we can certainly benefit from such a way of life, meaning the whole idea is questionable. And then we find out that it is actually connected to corporates, companies, the food industry, corporates who need us to go out and buy their products from the shelf and to overeat. And by overeating, of course, then they make money from our consuming their products. And that is where the whole notion of eating 3 times a day and more comes from. This goes for ideas like breakfast is the most important meal of the day. We are coming to find out that actually there is no evidence, no scientific evidence to corroborate this idea that many of us grew up on and believed, and that actually the root or the inception of that idea is again from Western corporates and the food industry, specifically the cereal industry, who wanted us to buy their cereals. And that is why they coined such phrases that many of us came to believe to be fact, to be factual, to be true, yet only to find out that these were merely marketing schemes. There is no scientific evidence out there today to prove the idea that breakfast is the most important meal of the day. These were and are simply corporate marketing ideas. So that's what I'm referring to when I say that we are coming across information that shows us that much of the world that we lived in, much of what we thought, what we believed, what we understood of our reality, of our world, our lifestyle, etc., that in fact much of it was mere deception. Again, this corroborates Revelations 12 and 9.
Guys, in coming to the Afrocentric doctrines and ideas, if we were deceived, as many of us can probably tell or have now figured, that we come from an era wherein the whole world was deceived, and that is what some call the Matrix. The Matrix. Similar concept of a world wherein the people live life according to certain standards, certain ideas, certain norms, culture, lifestyles that they believe to be normal, to be just a part of life, but only to find out that somewhere, somehow, somewhere in the past, there was some form of deception, some form, some agenda to spread a wide or to usher in a widespread state of deception. Now, briefly, my question is that if we come from such a world, such a reality, could it be that we were lied to about the Bible as well, in terms of what the Bible is, what it is not, its message, who wrote it, who didn't write it, where it comes from, what is its message, what does it actually teach, etc. Again, if we were lied to about almost every facet of our life, from religion to education to diet to medicine, etc., could it be, or does it make sense to conclude that we were lied to as it relates to the Bible as well? Now, the question, and this is directed, or this is a direct response to some of the notions, some of the ideas and doctrines that are coming out of the Afrocentric space today. If we were lied to about the Bible, then could it be that some of the arguments, some of the ideas, the doctrines that the brothers and sisters continue to challenge about the Bible are actually based on a false premise, I'll make a simple example, just a simple example of one such idea that I've come across in my engagement with various brothers, sisters from the Afrocentric space who continue to propagate the idea that the Bible is just the white man's book, myths, etc. Guys, I've come across a lot of people in that arena, in what I call the New Age Afrocentric arena. And part of the ideas that they continue to propagate is that, for example, the Bible is lying. The Bible is a false historical record of our origins. And part of that comes from the notion that the Bible says that the creation is 6,000 years old. That is, the creation of Adam and Eve was 6,000 years old, and that was the beginning or the inception or the creation of the planet as we know it. Again, we know that modern archaeology, history, modern, ancient, etc., we can now show, as much as there was a time in the past where some people did believe that the creation was 6,000 years old, or rather, that idea was entrenched into society, into the education system, etc. But however, we know that in this day and era, with advancements in archaeology, in such sciences, history, etc., geology, you name it, that we can now confirm that the creation is not 6,000 years old, and neither are Homo sapiens or humans on this planet. Do they go to 6,000 years ago? That is the first humans on this planet. That they do not go back to 6,000 years ago, but go back to an era much, much older than that. That is part of the argument that the science can now directly, it can prove that the earth is not 6,000 years old. The first humans were not only on the planet 6,000 years ago, etc., 6 to 7,000 years ago. But here's the question. I understand that that is the argument. The argument is that that's what the Bible says. But here's the question. What if the Bible does not say that the earth, the creations, are 6,000 years old, or that Adam and Eve were the very first human beings on the planet, etc.? What if actually that is not what the Bible says? The next question then is that, are we differentiating between what religion, religious establishment, Western Christianity told us and taught us that the Bible says versus what the Bible actually says? Again, I ask, do we make a clear distinction between what we were taught and told that the Bible says and what the Bible actually says? Another example being the idea of the curse of Ham being supposedly all black people. Because we know that the missionaries, Western missionaries, that they propagated such an idea on the African continent. The idea that the Bible says that the Hamites, who are then black people or Africans, that they were cursed, and that's what the Bible says. And that through this curse, that they were supposed to be slaves to the to Westerners or to other races. However, have you guys ever considered that the Bible does not say such a thing? Nowhere in the biblical records can we find such an idea. Meaning, again, we were deceived as it relates to what the Bible says. That is just two examples of how the deception goes in or spreads to what we were told about what the Bible says versus what the Bible actually says. That is it, brothers and sisters. These are just some of the topics that we will be delving into, that we'll be dealing with as it relates to the great biblical deception. I hope that you guys enjoyed this video, that you will join us for future videos as we explore many other questions, many other ideas and concepts that many of us have come to believe about the Bible, about religion, about Christianity, about African history, the Hebrews, the Israelites, etc. Those are just some of the subjects that we'll be delving into as part of the Great Biblical Deception series. I hope you enjoyed. Do share, like, subscribe. Join me for the next video as we delve into the subject, the Great Biblical Deception. And we'll be looking into the Bible itself, its origins. And I'll be looking into some of the notions. I'll be looking at some of the videos that have been playing under the series, the Unpopular Opinion series on YouTube, channel by AmielBY, and some of the information that has been spread, shared on that platform, and really begin to really question some of the ideas. Are we dealing with a people whose agenda is merely to share the truth of history? Or are these people who have a certain agenda that they are in fact spreading or that they are propagating? Is the information truth driven or is it agenda driven? These are critical questions that we really need to ask ourselves. Because, and in closing, I repeat, and I utter the words attributed to Yeshua, that the truth shall set us free. Therefore, I would like to say that Africans, we do not need another religion. We do not need more biased knowledge, information. What we need is truth. And it is the truth that will set us free. And remember, truth is not what you want to hear. It is not defined by what you want to hear, what sounds good to your ears, etc. Truth is defined by truth, by what you need to hear, whether it is good or bad. It is the truth. Ultimately, it is good for you and it is liberating. That is it. Thank you, brothers and sisters. AmielBY, ETI, Edenic Truth Institute, and signing out with that.